And we're in, and welcome everyone to this interview with Alex. And I'm going to get him to give us the meaning of his last name and where his ethnicity, his ancestry is from. But I also want to just acknowledge that this is an interview for the Association of Experiential Education. And I think it'll have wider implications as well. So let's see what happens. Alex said that he would step into being the first one for the region. And so here we go with it. And I'm just going to acknowledge my name is Stephen Hobbs. I am the person who is recording this, doing the transcription, and just putting it together so that we can learn a little bit more about each other. And one of the things we're going to do is we're just going to have Alex share a little bit about who he is and how he came into the Association of Experiential Education, but particular experiential education. And then that's going to take us into, and I'm just going to share with you some of the ways in which we're going to take a look at interacting together and just bring up the board here. So one of the topics we want to explore is the college experiential education content, how it might play itself out in high school. And then there's three words we're going to play with. Depending on how things go, we'll probably do all three. If not, we might do one. We'll see what happens. So Alex, one of the things that I'd love to have you do is just share your full name so everyone hears it in your voice, but also a little bit maybe about your ancestry, where you came from, and how did you get into experiential education? So it's over to you.
All right, so I'm Alex Bajorek. The nationality of my last name is Polish. My dad's side of the family is from Poland. My mom's side of the family is from Mexico and Spain. So I'm a fun mix of the Western European mix, and then a little bit of Hispanic culture in there as well. Yeah, so my journey kind of into experiential education is I kind of fell into it, really. So I went to college. I am a secondary high school teacher in the field of earth science. So that kind of tracks a little bit with some of the experiential education people. But I started working at the school that I'm working at, which is Goal High School. It's the largest online school in the state of Colorado. And at that school, Jay Czar actually had a program going from what he was doing over at CSU Pueblo. And I'm like, oh, yeah, cool. You want to go to Moab with a bunch of students and just go have fun, and they can learn about the region and the things that are around them by doing? Like, absolutely. That sounds great. So went out to Moab and participated in a few trips just kind of as a participant, and then eventually went up to starting to instruct some of the activities on there, and then eventually went to be leading the program, which was what I'm doing currently.
So the concept of falling in, I always appreciate that phrasing about falling in. Can you just elaborate just a little bit more on that one?
I don't know. I don't feel like I've ever really, I don't know. I'd never really had like a 5-year plan or anything like that. Like I went to college, I was undeclared, and I was like, oh, cool. This geology class is a lot of fun. Let's just do that. Same thing with the job that I'm currently working at. It's like, oh, I need a job. So I'm just going to apply to a bunch of different things. It's like, oh, online school. That kind of sounds fun. Let's do that. And then just the opportunity kind of came up, and it's like, yeah, let's give it a shot. See what that's like. So I don't know. I've always just been kind of, I will try anything once, and if I like it, I'll just keep doing it over and over and over.
Well, that's great. Yeah. Just to share, for me, it was grade 8, and I was asked to be the leadership representative for the YMCA at the time. Now, I'm years back. And in that, the person I was interacting with ran the outdoor camp and the day camp for the Y. And I just sort of got going, and then he offered, would you like to learn how to canoe in a birch bark canoe? And I said, okay, well, let's see what this is all about. And that's how I got into it. So instead of falling into it, I paddled into this world of experiential education. So that's great. So what was your probably first more formative experience in the outdoors? I'm asking you to go back there. What was it? What were you doing?
It was probably skiing with my dad, like way, way back when. I was one of those kids that was on the leash between my dad's legs when I was like 3, 4 years old. And I was like just growing up skiing, growing up in the mountains. Um, I've always liked the like solitude that you get when you're in the outdoors. My like absolute favorite place in the world is like skiing through trees while it's snowing and the snow just dampening the sound of everything, and it's just like you in the wilderness. And it's like uh so I think that eventually led to that, and it's just my happy place. Being outside, being with nature, out camping, skiing, hiking, all the various things. Not much of a water sports guy, but other than that, everything else.
Oh, that's great. Well, congratulations to your dad for introducing you to the outdoors then. So that's wonderful. Well, one of the things that I'd like to certainly have a conversation with you. I don't know where you're going to go with it, but I asked Alex, pick a topic that's important to you at this point in time from an experiential education perspective. He chose college experiential education content that moves into high schools. That's the title that was on that front board when we shared it. But you want to just explain a little bit more about what this topic is and what you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, so more recently, I guess in the past like 3 years, since like right around COVID time, my program kind of got dumped into our career and technical education department, which has a huge focus on post-secondary education for our students. I work primarily with high schoolers that are on the upper end of the age spectrum for high school. So like the school that I work at, we service a lot of at-risk students. We're an alternative education campus. So they do, like our population does tend older, so that like 17, 18, 19-year-old range. And really it's just, I've noticed that while working with the CTE department, we we really don't prepare our students very well for post-secondary education. So whatever I can do to kind of get the students the experience of dipping their toe into college level topics, college level curriculum, things like that, that could help them be more successful in post-secondary is really what I've been working on the past few years. Um, yeah, I just think our students, they need that little bridge, because right now there is a pretty big gap between our graduates from high school and starting college or starting workforce, especially like since the COVID years. They we lost a lot of development time with our students having to shelter in place, and they lost a lot of social development, academic development. So basically anything I can do to help bridge that gap is what I've been working on for the past few years. So that was kind of what came to mind when you asked me that question.
Yeah, so I guess there would be a metaphoric and a actual or literal use of the word bridge there.
Hmm.
So the bridge about just thinking about moving over, but then there's the actual how do I take my steps? Do you want to share a little bit more about how you see it, either metaphorically, literally, or both?
Yeah, I'm a concrete sequential person, so I try to deal in the literal as much as I can.
You bet.
Um, but yeah, so just creating experiences for our students and showing them what they have available to them after they exit high school, because it's really like a motivation thing for them. A lot of them don't have either the intrinsic or the extrinsic motivation to prepare themselves for that, because they can't see the forest through the trees. They're there in it. They don't see where they're going and how to get there. So just by giving them that little, either that little nugget or that little experience, that can eventually give them the motivation they need to want to better themselves, to want to drive for something after high school. I think that's way more important than trying to be like, hey, cool, you can get this job with this salary, and then work the rest of your life. It's like, well, no, there's a lot of different things that you can do, coming out of high school, going into college, going into the workforce, and just being better prepared for that is going to make your life so much easier than just trying to jump right into it.
Is there a tangible example you can give, and maybe it's linked to a couple of your students, or just sharing an example?
Yeah, so we work with Colorado Mountain College on one of our trips that we take up to Leadville, and just we go out there and they do a campus tour. They take us on a snowshoe around one of their paths. And my students just like, wait, I can go to college and do things that are fun, not just sit in an English class. And a couple of I've had a student that went through, he was like really unmotivated in his other coursework. He was credit deficient. But then going to the campus and seeing like these students are having fun. They're having fun while they're learning. That's awesome. And that just like completely flipped the switch on him where he became motivated. He's like, this is what I want to do now. And he was able to see that final goal and really just got that motivation within himself to make that next step.
And then he went on to college?
Yeah, he went to Colorado Mountain College, and I believe
okay. All right.
He graduated with his 2-year degree, I think last year, and he's working on one of their 4-year programs for ski area management.
There you go. Yeah, I did forestry, and then I said I was going to do a little trip for 6 months around the world. Came back 4 years later, and did outdoor recreation and environmental work and things like that. So that's great. See, it's there for us, and sometimes we just got to get a little bit more. Let's get the juices going to what you're doing about how to help the young ones make that bridge transition, so to speak, and to move over. So yeah, that's great.
Especially working at because the school that I work at is primarily online. They do have drop-in centers where students can get that interaction. But if a student is just sitting there with their laptop, going through their coursework, like clicking through their English 10A class, reading short stories about dead British people, like that they don't really get to see anything beyond that. It's just like, I have to do this coursework so I can finish high school. Like that's the goal. But there's nothing beyond that. So they just like will do bare minimum trying to finish out that high school and then completely unprepared for anything that comes after that.
Right. Well, thanks for doing that, because I think that's great. I'm sure there's a lot of young people who appreciate what it is you're doing. So that's wonderful. And I think that the 3 words that you said you'd like to share and we could play with, one of them being play, and another one being engagement, the other one relationships. Which one would you like to take a look at first? I know I have a preference, but this is you having a chance to share. Which one would you like to take a look at?
I like relationships. That was like the first one that came to mind, and I'm like, okay, cool. We're putting it down. This is that's the first thing I just wanted to talk about, because relationships are just so important. The population I work with, they tend to be in their silos, where they're either their relationships are with their family or with their friends or with some people in their like very immediate local community. But we take students from all over the state and we bring them together and we form our own little community, and they get to form relationships with other students from other walks of life. And that really just broadens their horizons. Like, I'm sure you know, like you go out and you travel, you meet people, you learn more about other cultures, and it makes you just, I don't want to say it makes everybody a better person, but it makes most people better people when they get out there and they get these new experiences. And especially in those formative years in high school, in those late teens, those students, that's when they're developing who they're going to be as an adult. And getting them that experience, getting them those relationship building skills, it really just sets them up way better to be successful in that post-secondary world. So relationships with others, relationships with their environment. I know one thing that I really took away from the last AEE International Conference was the emphasis on environmental education, because I think these students are going to have to deal with the environment that we are creating now for the next 80 years of their life. So just having that awareness in the relationship, a positive relationship with what they're doing in the outdoors. We teach like leave no trace concepts and all of that curricula as well. So getting the students involved, getting them to be active in their communities and their environment. Again, just those positive relationships with everything around them. They don't see it, like it's definitely not something we implicitly teach, but they do pick up on that. And when we model it, when we show them that stuff is important, and that's what's going to be, they're the ones that are going to drive the change. So.
So in the courses that you do around the relationships, is some of it about how to listen, how to share, how to educate, any of those kind of topics that you go into?
Yeah, so we really try to push every student to have their own voice. So we work on a lot on community building, team building, that kind of stuff. But we really try to make sure that like everybody is a participant on the trip and everybody has an equal voice. So even with my staff that I work with, we are all participants on the trip as well. And it's like we're far from infallible, but we like to model that behavior for students and how to listen to all of the others that are in that little community that we build. Yeah, we definitely try to work on that, on everybody just being a participant in the community, everybody being an equal participant. And
So
sorry,
like,
I'm gonna introduce my my intern here. She's like walking back and forth.
yeah,
Uh,
I saw the tail a
yeah,
couple of times and I just, oh, I'm sure everyone saw the tail.
yeah. So this is my little cat Luna. She knows my meeting voice, and she likes to make sure that every video call that I am on, she is in.
Oh, very
So
good, very good.
this is my relationship building right now.
So I guess what you're doing is you're in engagement with her right now as well, right?
Yep,
So
yep.
your second word was engagement, and so from a relationship point of view, you're going to then nurture the engagement that goes with that over time as well. So I want to share a little bit more about what your thoughts are there.
Yeah, so I just want these my students to be engaged and passionate about something. I don't know if I don't know how much experience you have with working with teenagers, but their favorite response to questions is IDK, and their second favorite response is IDC. So I don't know and I don't care. So just getting them to care about something, just sparking any sort of passion in their lives, engaging with the world around them, engaging with their community, engaging with their family, like whatever drives that student. And it's going to be different for every single kid, but just getting them to find that passion. And again, that works on building that bridge to becoming a more successful person just in life. Um, yeah, so just in again engaging all of the different ways that they can with their surroundings.
Yeah, and then engaging all their senses as well, right? In terms
Yeah.
of, and that's the beauty of being outdoors and experiencing the outdoors, is it certainly awakens your senses. There we go, and engaging with them. So, oh, that's great. So I think that one of the things in my time was people always used kept saying, well, we got to get buy-in, right? We got to get buy-in. We got to get the kids outdoor. We got to get them to buy in or things like that. And I'd always go, I'm not sure that's quite the word I would want. Enrollment, engage. I was always looking for other words to help them out because I did quite a bit of work in the outdoors with young people over the years as well. So that's great. But you may have guessed, if you haven't, folks, my word that I would have gone to immediately was play, because it is such a beautiful word linked to learning. And it's actually what got me employment around the world was my interest in play. But what's your interest in play, Alex?
I like seeing how people play. I think it is just so interesting to see like the various group dynamics around play. So we get these students, some of them might have been on a trip before, some of them might not, and just seeing what their various comfort levels are with play. We get them out there, you do some sort of activity, there's any number of them that I'm sure you all know, but you can just see the different personalities that you're going to have within your group just through that play session, and getting them, it brings everybody's guard down, it brings down a lot of the barriers that they build up around themselves, um, while in like a very safe environment for sure. We try to, like, obviously risk management, we try not to do anything too dangerous, but even like with the personal relationships and how what that student's level of risk is going to be, because that again that varies from student to student. So we then, by seeing that play, you're able to make more decisions on how your program is going to go, based on what their levels are at with that. Yeah.
No, it's great because I ended up getting a job at one point, and they said, what do you know about play? And I rattled off all the things that I thought would be important. I ended up getting work, and it was a 2-year contract. And guess what? It was about play. And I went, oh, this is awesome. This is a way in which to really get things going. And it's one of the ways in which to bring engagement relationships together.
Yep.
Yeah. So
it all ties together.
It all ties together. And, getting the young person ready to go into college from high school and using this bridge concept, I can certainly see how it all flows together. So that's wonderful. But we're going to be looking at heading towards close here. This has been really wonderful, but I've got a couple of things for you, a couple of questions for you. You didn't know they're coming.
Ready.
So these are going to be off the from the head, heart, and hands as they happen. So your favorite tree?
Ponderosa pine.
Why?
Where I grew up, there was a lot of them. So I think, I don't know, it reminds me of home.
You just keep bumping into them, right?
Yeah, recenters me, and it's like, oh yeah, I know this. It's familiar. It's great.
Well, that's wonderful, wonderful. Favorite animal?
Ooh, cat right now, currently.
You don't want to say anything else other than cat.
No,
Okay.
she might get mad at me. No, I am like I grew up as a dog person through and through, and moved through college, didn't have any pets, went right after college, graduated, lived in an apartment. I'm like, I can't have a dog in an apartment.
Yeah.
It's not right for the animal. It's like, I'm gonna get a cat. This little one has just grown on me so much. I'm a cat person now.
Very good, very good. Well, the other thing then, I'd like to just finish off with what would be some wisdom you would like to share with those who are listening in. And when I know that you're done, then I will close off and say take care. But I just want to acknowledge his ways to contact Alex if you want to learn more about what he's doing will be in what's called the show more notes, or the notes around wherever you see the video. So they will be available to you. So your words of wisdom, and then I'll say take care and we'll close off.
It's just meet people, go places, do things. That's it. That's all I got.
Well, then take care, everyone. And thanks, Alex. Appreciate it.